Yes, in 33 years, I have still not learned how to tie a tie. Welcome to Get Busy Watching, everybody! I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Very specifically, the best movies of 2022. Let's not beat around the bush and just get started. Before we kick things off, here are my honorable mentions for the following. The Bubble.
This is too much for anyone to take!
A bunch of whiny actors making a bad action movie during the COVID-19 lockdown. It appealed to me, even though it didn't appeal to many others.
You are a mediocre dancer. That's my appeal, bitch!
The Banshees of Inisherin.
You do like me.
I don't.
You liked me yesterday.
Dark comedies are always promising, and Brendan Gleeson chopping his fingers off to not be friends with Colin Farrell is as darkly humorous as I can ask for.
But it feels like the drastic is the only option left open to me.
You've loads of options left open to you.
Batman and Superman, Battle of the Super Sons.
We sneak in, kill this hive mind thing, and be back for Alfred's cucumber sandwiches.
When live-action DC fails to deliver fun and inspiring films, always count on Warner Animation Group. Fun, light, and surprisingly emotional, one of WAG's very best.
Still can't fly.
The Batman.
I'm vengeance.
Call me Team Edward now because Robert Pattinson delivers the best Batman flick since The Dark Knight. He may not be Kevin Conroy, but he's earned his place in the upper echelons of the Caped Crusaders adaptations.
People are watching.
What people?
So much bigger than you could ever imagine. It's the whole system.
Violent Night.
They don't believe, they just want, crave, consume.
Die Hard meets Home Alone, as led by an action Santa Claus played by David Harbour. Humorous, fun, violent, everything you need to feel warm and cozy during the holidays.
Santa's gonna eat through these guys like a plate full of cookies.
Number 10. The Menu. This makes the list mostly because I had the distinct pleasure of watching it with a friend, and I don't see movies with friends that often. But there is a little extra seasoning to make the experience all the more worthwhile. It is a satirical look into the restaurant industry, which both me and my friend work in. So that makes it all the more fun for both of us.
You know how people idolize, athletes and musicians and painters and stuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah, those people are idiots. What they do, it doesn't matter.
The story is essentially about a pair of lovebirds, kind of, on a date to a prestigious and pretentious restaurant where the food is amazing, as created by an equally prestigious and pretentious head chef. But the twist is, the lovebirds, as well as all the other patrons along for the ride, are there for a single reason: to die! Yes, the chef hates these people for varying reasons, and they're not simply there to be killed, but he and his entire staff are there to die as well.
Request substitutions, despite the fact that there are no substitutions at Hawthorne!
Half the fun comes from noticing all of the references to actual restaurant things. In the beginning of the film, a tour is given of the restaurant grounds, and the patrons are given a peek into the staff's living quarters. What I found humorous was that each bed had an overhead lamp that made it look like a heat lamp, like the staff themselves were a piece of meat kept under a heat lamp for preservation. There's plenty more, but this is one detail that I didn't put in my dedicated review of the film, and I kicked myself for not pointing it out, so I'm doing it now.
Here we are family. Each day starts at 6 with 5 hours of prep work. We harvest, we ferment, we slaughter.
The acting is phenomenal. Anya Taylor-Joy is a quality talent even in her worst work. Nicholas Hoult, same thing. Ralph Fiennes, well, he's in his element as the homicidal Dark Lord that his cohorts will follow into hell, so I can't say that's new. Sure, no one can argue that the patrons don't do enough to escape their situation, but this is one of those rare times where the intent of the story outweighs the common sense, at least for me. But that's where the writing comes in, and it's actually quite funny.
Given a 45-second head start, at which point members of my staff will try and catch you. If they do catch... Okay.
And the ending. I absolutely love it. And I think that's where me and my friend kind of have a differing opinion. I don't think she did. I feel like I know what the movie was driving at, and if I'm right, well then it made the ending all the more enjoyable for me. As an employee of the restaurant industry, I got a whole lot out of this, and it was very, very fun. Thank you, Zarina, for joining me. It was a blast to experience this with you and watch you scrunch your face every time something happened.
Your fourth course, sous chef Jeremy's The Mess.
Number 9. 13 Lives. Anyone who knows me really well knows that I am very suspicious of any movie that's based on true events. You just never know when someone's going to take creative liberties all in the name of making the story more interesting, which, in my opinion, is a huge disservice to the actual event. It's like, these are people's lives. These are things that actually happened. You don't need to make it more exciting. And what does that say about you that needs to make it more exciting? It doesn't sound like you thought it was, so why are you making a movie out of it? But whatever. I mean, changes are expected. You have to fit it into a 3-act, 90-minute movie structure, so obviously some things need to be streamlined, but that's a whole nother story. But that's what I think this movie did well. From what I understand, it's faithful and respectful to the actual event.
คนแถวนี้เขาบอกว่าผู้ใหญ่บ้านรู้จักภูเขาลูกนี้ดีเหรอครับไม่ล่ะแล้วผู้ใหญ่ทราบหรือเปล่าครับว่าตอนนี้น้ำมันท่วมอยู่ข้างในแล้วมีเด็กๆติดอยู่
The story is about the 2018 Tom Luong cave rescue in Thailand, where a group of young football players, soccer if you're a filthy western pig like me, and their assistant coach are trapped in a flooded cave. They were trapped in there for 18 days, and, well, if you followed the news at the time, which I didn't, then you'll know they all survived thanks to a myriad of reasons.
It's just a tourist cave.
It looks easy, but Vern said when it's flooded, it's impossible.
Impossible for Vern.
Yeah.
To drive the point home, the film was directed by Ron Howard, so of course you're gonna get all the feels. All of the feels. Ron clearly had a passion for this story, and despite what changes he may have made, he clearly did his best to cram in everything he could to do the story justice. The trials and tribulations of what the Thai government was able to do, which wasn't a whole lot, they faced so many problems and obstacles, and it was only with international help that they would eventually make any real progress. And by progress, I mean another layer of hopelessness.
No one must know about the method you propose. Not even the parents.
Those kids were about 2.5 miles away from the entrance. The cave walls were narrow, claustrophobic beyond belief in some areas. To make matters worse, this was taking place during monsoon season, and the rains were only making the flooding worse. I can't be the one to document every single problem the army of rescue divers faced, but rest assured, there were plenty. And for the happy ending this has, if you ever needed proof that miracles exist, this is some strong evidence.
That's brilliant.
Or insane.
Or both.
The acting is fantastic across the board. Viggo Mortensen is kind of a douchebag who thinks it's not possible to save the boys, but he never straight up quits. He knows the challenges before him, and he clearly doesn't believe in dishing out false hope. Mortensen is the standout, more nuanced character, but you can never go wrong with the likes of Colin Farrell or Joel Edgerton.
What do you want me to tell them? We found the boys, now let's all watch them die.
Okay, Rick, take it easy.
I'm just telling it like it is.
When all is said and done, it's a gut-wrenching movie, and I mean that in the best way possible. It's a story about just all these people from all corners of the world coming together, not even really fully understanding what the problem is, what the issues were, and just everything that these rescuers went through to save these kids. It's an astounding story.
You all did this for one reason. The love for the boys.
It's okay.
The Northman. Good old-fashioned Viking romp starring Alexander Skarsgård and directed by Robert Eggers of Witch and Lighthouse fame. And if you've never seen these movies, I hate you. Give Eggers some credit. When he makes a movie, it's usually one you haven't seen before and answers questions that you've definitely asked but didn't really want an answer to, like how to bang a mermaid. Boy, are you gonna owe your soul an apology when you finally learn that answer. Or maybe it's gonna kickstart a few fetishes for you. I don't know. Show me your search history. But you can't see mine. But we're talking about a very different movie here, so you're off the hook for now. Based on the Norse legend of Amleth. Amleth is an exiled prince who vows revenge against his uncle for murdering his father and taking his mother. Now an adult and as battle-hardened as his abs, wipe the drool off your face, ladies, he secretly ventures back to his home under the guise of being a slave and causing as much chaos as he can before making his move. Oh yeah, and he gets to bang Anya Taylor-Joy. Hey girl, you're 2 for 2 on my list this year. Woo-hoo!
It's a nightmare.
Then you must wake up.
It's their nightmare.
This is certainly a heavy film about revenge and even perception. This kid is convinced that he knows what's what and has spent the duration of his exile thinking of nothing but avenging his father. It's well explored with some incredible sets in action. Standouts include the first battle scene with adult Amleth and the fight against the undead knight protecting the magic sword. Let no one say that Eggers doesn't make movies that feel authentic and aren't visceral. And all I'm doing is talking about the action. When things start coming to a head and all that Amleth has been fighting for to get what he wants, it results in some unexpected twists that reshape the entire experience. This isn't even a mystery thriller where twists and turns are expected. This is a fantasy action-adventure flick, and it has better twists and turns than most of the actual genre you'd expect them to be in. And frankly, it's pretty warped and twisted, but in the best way possible. And that's what I like in my movies. Stuff that's messed up, but still pretty enjoyable.
Look what has been done to my brave friends! Christian monsters! Monsters! Ah!
The Northman is awesome, yet another wonderful film by Robert Eggers.
Remember the oath to right the wrong. Remember the Raven King.
Number 7. The Princess. Oh, I'm gonna catch some flack for this one. Seriously, I prefer this over The Northman. I have one reason why. Entertainment value. And what is a movie supposed to do but entertain you? And ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for entertainment, I present to you my pick for the best bad movie of 2022, and as a result, is one of my favorite movies of the year.
You're an oddity. What on earth happened to make you end up this way?
I was born this way.
Don't hide yourself from regret, just love yourself and you're set. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way.
All right.
We're not doing that again.
The story is about Joey King, who is the princess. She's a strong, capable young woman who picks up a sword and kicks the ever-loving crap out of hordes of big burly dudes in order to save her kingdom by a usurping man that she was supposed to marry.
No focus, no speed. Again.
You remember how I took a fat dump on Interceptor for being this exact thing? A tiring girl power action movie that takes itself a little too seriously, but instead of making me groan, I'm laughing. In Interceptor, Elsa Pataky is toned. She looks like she could kick ass. Joey King, on the other hand, is Joey King. She's a skinny twig that somehow can take on this. This is full on parody, and yet she's still coming out on top. You thought the bad guys in Interceptor were dumb? Dear God, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Well, that It usually works.
The action isn't great, the VFX are laughable, and the acting is so over the top that I would swear I've seen Nickelodeon characters with more nuance. It's so bad, but I adore it. More of this from Joey King, please.
What's your language? You're in the presence of a princess.
Number 6. Bullet Train. I really wanted this spot to be shared in a three-way tie with Bullet Train, Everywhere All at Once, and Gray Man. Here's where I drew some lines though. Everything Everywhere All at Once certainly had more zany visuals and certainly more memorable visuals, but it's not like Bullet Train is devoid of that itself. And in most of it is practical effects. As for The Gray Man, yeah, it's every bit the over-the-top popcorn action flick that I absolutely adore, but again, a lot of that action is CGI, whereas Bullet Train, it's not devoid of over-the-top action, but it's all practical. So that's what it basically came down to for me. Bullet Train was just everything all rolled into one. Sadly, there's no evil Chris Evans, but hey, you get what you get.
I will ruin your life the way you ruin mine.
Dude, I don't even know you! The story follows Brad Pitt in Japan. He's an assassin with a new peaceful outlook on life and wants an easy mission to steal a briefcase on a bullet train. Turns out that there's other forces at work who also want that briefcase and for various reasons, all want to kill him. Director David Leitch is a serious hit or miss for me. He's a fantastic director when it comes to action, that can't be denied. Makes sense since he himself is a former stuntman. But most of his films don't always appeal to me. Atomic Blonde was okay. I liked Deadpool 2. I did not like Hobbs and Shaw, but at long last, he's made the movie that I can really get behind.
You sure you want to talk this out?
Not particularly, no.
Okay.
The action is the easiest thing to praise. Everything is well choreographed, each having their own flavor of zaniness. From the Mexican cartel dude who wants to kill Brad Pitt for reasons that even he doesn't know, to the fight with Aaron Taylor Johnson, honestly, the list goes on and on. They're hard-hitting, creative at every turn, you're constantly wincing and laughing and smiling no matter what is happening. And of course, Joey freaking King. Hey girl, 2 for 2. But for wildly different reasons. This obviously being her legitimately best role of her career. She may not be in as many of the more memorable fight scenes, but she is far and away one of the best characters.
You're going to kill him for me.
How the fuck am I going to kill the White Death?
You'll see.
It's not as kooky or zany as Everything Everywhere, but it's not devoid of its own style. It may not be as over the top as Gray Man, but it is still enjoyably over the top in its own right. I adore this movie. It's the best action movie of the year. I loved it.
Huh?
Really?
See what I'm doing?
I do.
Turning that upside down.
I do.
This is working.
Before we hit the top 5, here are some additional honorable mentions for the following. Studio 666.
Someone's gonna jump through the window and start stabbing us in the eye!
The Foo Fighters meets Evil Dead. It's a campy, goofy time, but it's charming enough for any fans who want to see Dave Grohl murder his bandmates.
Is the album almost done?
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's killer.
Hatching. The best creature feature of the year, and it's from Finland. A monstrous bird that mutates into the little girl that hatched it and goes on a killing rampage? Oh, hell yeah!
Jos mä soitan äidille nyt.
Barbarian.
Tess, we have to come this way! Someone's down! I'm not going back!
Oh boy, good luck sleeping tonight. Definitely one of the more messed up horror flicks recently, and it's Justin Long's best role in years? What?
And she ain't never came in this motherfucker.
Pearl.
I love you, Daddy, but this is no way to live.
Definitely my favorite of the bunch, and it's bar none Mia Goth's best performance of her career. If Pearl herself isn't a modern icon of slasher horror, then I give up on the genre.
I'm not staying on this farm!
Joyride.
What about the dad? Every spud needs their dad. You sound like you need yours like a hole in the head. Fuck off.
Olivia Colman tries to get rid of her infant child while learning from her younger co-star. I might question the ending, but I don't question its beating heart.
What type of mother leaves both of her children go hungry?
You can fuck off with your past remarkables.
Metal Lords.
Woo! Heavy metal rules!
A quirky coming-of-age story about love, friendship, and metal. Yes, indeed, heavy metal rules!
Just fucking metal, man.
Dog.
Maybe just take crazy down. Just like one.
A war vet bonds with his vicious military dog, and you get all the best aspects of Channing Tatum. The laughs, the tears, a shockingly effective directorial debut from Magic Mike.
You were definitely not the girl I thought I'd be in the tub with, but hey.
The Fablemans.
Fablemans! You're getting dirt inside my stagecoach! Well, we'll clean it out!
When Spielberg was a young man making movies and the drama in his family. Probably not a 1-to-1 ratio of his life, but it's a genuine love letter to family and filmmaking.
Good luck to you. And get the fuck out of my office.
Here we are at the top 5. Time to make a thing out of it. Yep, that tastes like $7 champagne. Anyway, top 5. Number 5. Spoiler alert. Do not watch this unless you know where your nearest tissue box is. You are going to cry. It is the emotional powerhouse film of the year.
Is that shocking to you? Shocking? No, it's not shocking. I've heard of people who don't have TVs, but I've never met one. It's nice to meet you.
Based on the true story of Michael Ausiello, who chronicles his relationship with Kit Cowan, up until his untimely passing from cancer. Say what you want about Big Bang Theory, what can't be denied is that Jim Parsons is a wonderful actor. If you never saw the proof before, here you go. What sort of tickled me was how the first act was handled. Almost like this was going to be a rom-com as narrated by Parsons, who says as much. Even right down to the dissociative sitcom bits enacting his childhood. Parsons can't escape sitcoms, man.
One of the other kids called me Dead Dad Mike, the fat fudge packer, in front of my U.S. history and geography class.
What I appreciate is that this doesn't feel like the gay romance is being thrust upon us. There's no celebration that they're homosexual, not that I noticed anyway, but rather keeps the focus on these two people, who they are, and their relationship. I never saw Bros, but from what I understand, it's got a ton of spite towards cis whites. From what I can gather, even gay people didn't like that movie. This doesn't do that. There are straight people, and they're portrayed as normal, well-meaning people. Taking a wild guess here, I think I dodged a bullet.
And there's a chance that you'll go in, you'll find out it's nothing, and then we'll just...
Michael, relax. Everything's fine. I'm gonna be fine, okay?
Upon reflection, I think I have a couple of nitpicks, though for pacing issues, it's not exactly a wonder why things are structured the way they are. The first is, I think the root cause of the division in their relationship prior to Kit's diagnosis is sort of thrust onto the story without much rhyme or reason. Their relationship takes off a dozen cutesy holiday postcards later, and they're fighting for reasons. General relationship issues, if I remember correctly, which then escalated to possible affairs, then they separate. I guess that's normal, but it happens in a montage. Then again, if we had focused on the cause of that, the movie would have been as long as Avatar. Gay romance stories are cute, but this ain't a space opera. Keep it within reason. Which they did, so I can't complain.
We're in very different worlds right now.
Yeah, we're in very different worlds right now. I agree.
Oh, and then there's this weird subplot where we learned that Kit never came out to his parents. This kind of needed a bit more explaining because nothing in his relationship with his parents' behaviors seemed to justify the secret. I get it, much of this character has been a subtle layer of insecurities, but insecurities crop up for a reason. I don't recall those reasons being explored or explained. Maybe every story rhymes in a different way, shape, or form, but it felt needless to the story, especially since it's resolved in a few minutes. But it truly doesn't matter due to how everything else plays out. There's sensitivity, understanding, the emotions are allowed to play out in a natural way that doesn't have forced explosive drama.
Why couldn't you tell me that? Why did you keep it such a secret? What, am I some horrible monster? You can't say that to me. You have to...
Yeah, you know how it ends, but it's moving. It's emotionally charged, and for pretty much the entire second half of the movie, I couldn't stop crying. But you know something? It earns my tears, and that's not nothing to me.
You're gonna be okay. Yeah. I'm gonna be okay.
Number 4. Breaking. It's been quite the year for movies that have been based on true events. It's just nice to see real people getting proper representation, and their stories not being molded to fit some sort of entertainment clause. It's just not necessary all the time. And you want to know something? This one is my favorite of the bunch. Brian Brown Easley is a war vet suffering from PTSD who feels that the Department of Veterans Affairs owes him money and they're denying it to him. To rectify the situation, he goes to Wells Fargo and holds 2 employees hostage with a bomb and demands the money that the VA owes him, hoping not to hurt anybody. This is far and away John Boyega's best performance. He truly transcends from being an actor to making this feel like we're peering through a window in time at what this man was going through.
I want to see daytime, everything. Tell him about what's happening. Just tell him. Just tell him.
Boyega is intense. He commands the screen. He perfectly balances threatening, vulnerable, friendly, and troubled. It's truly incredible seeing him be so cold, telling the teller that he has a bomb with the straightest face imaginable. He's unhinged. When he demands a negotiator and doesn't get it in a timely manner, he threatens to detonate his bomb. The way he tries to calm his hostages down, he looks genuinely remorseful of the situation he's created for them. He clearly doesn't want to hurt anyone. I even love the detail that he would answer the phone and talk to guests, calmly and politely telling them that they can't be helped at the moment, which apparently really did happen.
Fortunately, Bridget is not here to discuss your 401k, but can I take a message for you?
Yeah.
You been having a good day?
Could be better.
It's such a complicated situation. On the one hand, we know that he's endangering the lives of innocent people. If I remember correctly, the bomb he claimed to have was fake. So no one, in retrospect, was in any real danger. So the worst thing he did was waste resources from law enforcement.
I'm a West Coaster. MCRD, San Diego.
Okay, so you one of them Hollywood brothers with the veneers in your mouth, huh?
Still, the real-life issue of why he never received his money was so full of this and that. Well, it didn't happen because he was bouncing around and homeless at the time, so of course he didn't get these notifications. It's a complicated web of who did what and what wasn't made aware. I think if there's any weakness the movie had, it's not making that clear. The situation with the VA is clearly a lot more complicated than the movie portrayed, and it's probably not a good idea to demonize them. I mean, they weren't in the strictest sense. I think that's the only weakness this movie has.
This is on them. Why didn't the VA make it right?
Oh man. It still hurts to know that this was Michael K. Williams' last movie role. And it was so different for him too, at least as far as the roles that I've seen him do. But it works in all aspects. The writing, the directing, the acting, it all just fits perfectly into one of the more underrated films of the year.
So you're honored with more than $892.
You're worth more than $892.
I'm worth nothing.
Number 3. Top Gun Maverick. This is most likely going to be number 1 on everyone else's top favorite films of the year, and it's really not hard to understand why. So many movies of late have been lacking just respectability, enjoyability, and aren't pushing a single agenda other than just raw entertainment. And as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be pretty hard to find anything that's legitimately better than Tom Cruise's sophomore outing for the Top Gun franchise.
For reasons known only to the Almighty and your guardian angel, you've been called back to Top Gun.
After a botched test of an experimental plane, he's banished back to the Top Gun Flight Academy to train the new recruits for an upcoming skirmish against an enemy force setting up an unsanctioned uranium plant that needs to be destroyed and is heavily guarded. The easiest joke to make is that this is basically the trench run from Star Wars. I swear that's the whole climax of the movie. A narrow canyon where only a few of the good guys can fly in at a time, anti-aircraft guns ready to shoot their enemies down, and the enemy has their own fighter planes to do what the big guns may not be able to. But then the filmmakers thought to themselves, how do we outdo Star Wars? Let me tell you, they basically accomplished that feat.
Setting time to target, 2 minutes, 15 seconds.
2:15, that's impossible.
Final attack point. Mavericks inbound.
The practical stunts are pure cinematic magic. This had the budget, used it to its fullest, and delivered the best product that could have possibly been given to audiences. I have nothing but respect for the actors for going through the intense training to be in those planes with their pilots. I have nothing but respect for Tom Cruise and his clear love of filmmaking and what it takes to deliver a quality, fun, engaging, and exciting action flick.
Working as a team, you have to shoot me down or else.
Or else what, sir?
Or else I shoot back.
The writing is brilliant, perfectly balancing familiar narrative beats from the previous flick, but leveling it out with new things to keep it fresh and even emotionally charged. I certainly think that the only aspect of the story that I would have written out would have been the clashing egos between the new recruits, which I feel makes very little sense here as opposed to the first film. Just saying, if I knew my life was in the hands of these pilots, tell them to stay in the locker room and measure whose is bigger, and let me get vaporized.
If I shoot either one of you down, you both lose.
This guy needs an ego check.
We'll see to that.
This is a fantastic movie, and sadly, might be a rarity. I mean, we'll find plenty of movies with similar budgets, maybe even with practical stunts. But how many of them are going to have this level of writing? Frankly, I don't care what Mickey Rourke has to say. Tom Cruise can do the same damn thing over and over and over again if he wants, as long as it means I get a quality movie in the process. It's not like Rourke is doing any better. When was the last time you saw him in a movie? So to Top Gun Maverick, I salute you.
The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
Number 2. Cha-Cha Real Smooth. This is going to be a controversial pick. Mostly because, well, yeah, Top Gun is a significantly better film in almost every way. But hear me out here. There's a reason why this is my number 2. 2022 was a bit of a tough year for me. Not going to tell you any details, but it's not because I think this movie was that entertaining or even really that good, but just because I related to it a lot.
But just know that nobody on the dance floor is going to have nearly as much fun if you guys aren't there. So,
Cooper Raiff is a 20-something young man who has been inspired to be a party starter to hype up kids to have more fun at whatever function he's hired for. He meets Dakota Johnson, a mother of an autistic teen daughter and soon-to-be married woman, and strikes up a friendship with her that escalates over time. I can't deny that not a whole lot makes sense in terms of character motivations. Dakota's character is engaged, yet gets very intimate with Andrew for reasons that aren't well explored in the film. Even by the end of it, I'm not that convinced that she loves her fiancé, but is only marrying him because it's the adult thing to do, or whatever her justification was.
Yeah, just a case in Chicago keeping me busy.
Is your next case in Livingston?
I wish.
That would be great.
Where it gets me on an emotional level is Cooper's character, Andrew. He's a dude with emotional issues. In the beginning of the film, he's in a relationship with a girl who essentially moves away, and he wants to move there to be with her, hence the inspiration to be a party starter. To save money to go be with her. But when he learns that the girl is dating a new guy without telling him, he doesn't take it well. I admit to having my own issues over rejection, or the other party not having the decency to be transparent with me. Honestly, both. Who am I kidding? Then Andrew goes and develops feelings for Domino, Dakota's character. He tries to keep it friendly at first, but she's the one who makes the first moves. Of course, he would roll with it because he thinks there's underlying troubles in paradise, and he's essentially fighting to prove he's the better option. She's happy when she's with them after all, so why be with someone she doesn't say all that much positive about, other than the most threadbare compliments that can apply to literally anyone? The ending result is Andrew realizing that his feelings weren't as genuine as he might have believed, or shouldn't have been in such a short amount of time, and leaving the situation with a broken heart. A lot of that speaks to me. While my personal situation wasn't this dramatic or dramatic in a different way, I know what it feels like to be led on. To be convinced that the relationship was more than what the surface suggested, only for that person to pull the rug out from under me, and I'm left feeling like I'm the bad guy.
When I'm with you, I feel so alive. But that's because it's all possibility.
But beyond the personal, I can't deny that I love the writing. Writer, director, and star Cooper Raiff has incredible talent in all aspects of this film. Andrew is a lovable goof. He's fun, he's protective, he's charming. He's the kind of dude that you can tell can be fluid as a friend. The guy you can party all night with and get wild and crazy, but he's also sensitive enough that if you needed a friend to lay all your troubles down and unload whatever is making you sad or anxious, he will happily sit there and help you sort it out. I love characters like this because it's the kind of person I want to be, minus the party all night long and get wild and crazy part. He talks a big game sometimes and he loses his cool, but you know he means well, and he does try his very best to be supportive and mindful of his shortcomings when it's time to face that music.
Oh God. I'm not a push-up guy. I'm not a sit-up guy either.
This extends to Dakota as well. While I disagree with the writing for her character at least, I can't help but adore her performance. She's so cute and funny, and the way she and Cooper bounce off of each other is nothing short of amazing chemistry. No scene is devoid of comedy or dorkiness. And also, gotta call it out, this is probably my favorite role from Leslie Mann. Dear God, she brings her A+ game as Cooper's super sensitive mother who adores her children. She's supportive, nurturing, but grounded enough to question when her son does something that he's actually doing it for the right reason. Clearly she has her own mental and emotional issues, and there are some scenes where she's barely holding it together. But I promise you, her performance makes you want to hug your own mother.
Like, I have this urge to tell you that I had a really great childhood. And I think you're a really great mother. I hope you know that. I think that.
I don't blame anyone for disagreeing with this movie's placement on my list, but I'm sticking by it. Never mind the personal attachment there, but it's still a very well-written film. And considering that Cooper Raiff doesn't have a lot of credits under his belt, and this is like his second movie, that's pretty impressive. Definitely going to keep an eye out for his next project, but as it stands, this was a fine film.
I don't understand how you're so good at this game.
I'm not that good. I'm just a lot better than you.
Wow.
Before we hit my #1 favorite film of the year, here are my final honorable mentions for Best Action and Thrillers. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
happy. I'm healthy when I'm working. I'm an actor. No, you're a fucking movie star, and don't you ever forget that.
Nicolas Cage has had a tumultuous career, and that's not lost on him. He makes fun of himself in wonderful fashion and had me laughing until my lungs shriveled up.
I'm sorry, but you can't quit acting. You can't. That's none of your business. Whether you like it or not.
Glass Onion.
You're here.
I am.
The sequel to Knives Out is as enjoyable as the first one. Stay out of Star Wars, Rian Johnson. This is where you belong.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No! It's just dumb.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. Yet another multiverse movie, but the zany visuals give you a better story than the second Doctor Strange flick. Michelle Yeoh kicks butt, Jamie Lee Curtis is hilarious, I love it.
Of all the Evelyns,
The Gray Man.
You give him hell 6.
The Russo brothers finally gave me something post-Endgame that I can enjoy. Over-the-top action, over-the-top evil Chris Evans and his mustache, lovable writing, what's not to enjoy? And my number one favorite film of 2022 is... Bubble. I spilled champagne on my vest. Oh, shit. This is coincidentally also my pick for the movie that has the best score and soundtrack. I genuinely did not think that this would peak in the way that it has. Anime is usually not my go-to form of entertainment, but every so often, I really click with one. And boy howdy did I click with this one.
Who are you?
Set in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo. Years ago, unknown bubbles came out of nowhere and ended up flooding the city. While mostly evacuated, those that remain are young, orphaned, competitive parkour athletes that take part in races for food, supplies, luxuries, and even fame and wealth. One day, star athlete of his team, Hibiki, falls in the ocean but is saved by a mysterious young girl named Uta, who joins the team. But soon, the mystery of what happened with the bubbles and Tokyo, as well as Hibiki and Uta's connection to those events, start to unravel and will change the course of Tokyo's future. Now I have to get this out of the way. The third act is the only downside to the film. The majority of the story is about this budding romance between Hibiki and Uta, and the growing tension and rivalry between the competing parkour teams. A wiser film would focus on that and save the bubbles mystery for a sequel. No one's wondering where the bubbles came from, so if the characters aren't wondering, why should the audience? But that's about it.
I've pushed myself here far more than you. Believe me when I say you can trust me.
Literally everything else this does captivates me like no other animated film in recent years. The setting of a flooded Tokyo is so simple, yet so eye-grabbing. This is mostly thanks to the visceral action sequences where Hibiki and Uta use the bubbles to bounce around during the races. How everything works in tandem to create such visual spectacles that a lot of action movies with bigger budgets struggle to accomplish. Whether the bubbles are used as another tool to get from point A to point B, or when the playing field literally shifts to cause a building to collapse, it's utterly fantastic. The story wears its Little Mermaid influence on its sleeve, which was starting to look like a trend for a while there since another anime film came out earlier in the year called Belle, a take on Beauty and the Beast combined with Ready Player One. It's better than it sounds, and it's not even that bad, but it's not as good as it should be either.
You have no clue about anything.
Then why don't you explain it to me?
Get out of here!
This is much better though. I love the character designs, with the obvious standout being Uta. Her short blue hair, a perfect contrast to Ariel, her mismatched clothing is wild but cute, and her bubbly personality is heartwarming as she imprints on Hibiki. Learning from him and slowly learning how to communicate and be a part of his world. See what I did there? Nailed it! Even showing that she's a natural parkour athlete, because of course, and she's just as good as Hibiki, if not better. And I'm not reading into this time. What I appreciate is that their romance isn't a quick one, especially for Hibiki, who doesn't know what to make of Uta at first. Sure, Uta's enamored with him, but he takes quite a bit of warming up to her. Over time, their relationship does feel organic to the story, where they care about and depend on one another.
The Little Mermaid's vision was captivated by a prince on the ship. She became entranced by him.
Well, you can't have a Little Mermaid compared story if music isn't a big part of its identity. Clearly the filmmakers knew that and created music that months later I still can't stop listening to. The music is so simple and yet full of emotion. It's melancholic, sad, hopeful, powerful in its tenderness. And my favorite element of any theme is the ability to have it played on different levels of intensity. You have the wonderful dual parkour scene with Hibiki and Uta, to the more thrilling rendition during the battle against the Undertakers a couple of scenes later. It's appealing to me in almost every way, a mishmash of everything that I look for in a story, and even prefer it over its inspiration. Guarantee you, this is going to be the superior Little Mermaid flick over whatever live-action nonsense that's going to be. Dear God. Is it a perfect flick? No. Are there other problems that I just simply haven't noticed? Probably. But every time I think about it, I want to watch it again. And again, and again, and again. Yeah, it left that kind of impression on me. And that's why it's my #1 favorite film of 2022. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite movies were of the year, what your least favorite movies were, what you agreed with on my list, what you didn't agree with. Let's just have some fun, yeah? Hope everyone has a great one. Hope to see you soon.
Just remember that it's later than you think. So be cool. Just relax. So be cool, face facts, 'cause time